The idea that God will confuse your enemies is often rooted in faith and the belief that a higher power is watching over us, providing protection and guidance. It's a source of comfort, especially in challenging times. In everyday life, we all face moments of difficulty and encounter people who may not wish us well. It's during these times that the saying, "God will confuse your enemies," comes into play. It's a reminder that no matter what challenges we face, God is working on our behalf. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 7 says, "When the Lord takes pleasure in anyone's way, he causes their enemies to make peace with them." This verse speaks to the idea that when your ways align with the principles and values that please the Lord, even your enemies can be transformed into allies. It conveys the notion that God has the power to influence the hearts of those who may oppose you, fostering reconciliation and peace. Imagine this: you are on a journey, and along the way, you encounter obstacles and adversaries. These challenges may seem overwhelming, but the belief that God will confuse your enemies brings a sense of reassurance. It means that God is on your side, that there is a force greater than any adversity you may encounter. This belief is not about revenge or harm to others. Instead, it's about divine intervention, about trusting that God understands your struggles and will guide you through them. It's a message of hope, suggesting that when faced with negativity or opposition, God will step in to create confusion among those who seek to bring you down. In a broader sense, it encourages a positive mindset. Knowing that God will confuse your enemies fosters resilience and courage. It's a call to face challenges with a steadfast spirit, confident that God is making plans for your well-being. This belief inspires you to focus on your own growth and development, trusting that God's plan is greater than any obstacles that may come your way. Matthew chapter 5 verses 44 to 45 reminds us, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous." This verse from the Gospel of Matthew encourages believers to love their enemies and pray for those who may be against them. The idea is to emulate the divine nature of God, who shows kindness to both the righteous and the unrighteous. The concept of confusing your enemies aligns with the call to love and pray for them. By doing so, you demonstrate a higher level of spiritual maturity, acknowledging that God's ways are beyond human understanding. God's blessings are not exclusive to those who follow Him. Even those who oppose you may experience His grace. By loving and praying for your enemies, you align yourself with the divine principle of grace and mercy, fostering an environment where confusion among those who seek to harm you can be transformed into an opportunity for reconciliation and understanding. So if you ever find yourself in a difficult situation or facing adversaries, take solace in the idea that God will confuse your enemies. Embrace the strength that comes from faith and let it guide you with a sense of peace and determination. Romans chapter 8 verse 31 states, "What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us?" This verse from Romans emphasizes the unending support from God. It encourages believers to stand firm in the face of challenges, secure in the knowledge that if God is on their side, no force or enemy can ultimately prevail against them. The idea is to find strength and confidence in divine support, fostering resilience in the midst of challenges. Remember, the journey may be tough, but with faith in God as your compass, you can navigate through any storm, knowing that divine intervention is at work for your good. In life, challenges and difficulties are sometimes unavoidable, but the belief that God will confuse your enemies adds a beautiful hue of optimism. It invites you to rise above negativity and focus on the goodness that surrounds you. This is not just about facing external enemies. It also speaks to the internal battles we wage within ourselves, doubts, fears, and insecurities. When facing inner struggles, the assurance that God is at work in your life becomes a source of light and strength. It encourages self-reflection and the understanding that even in moments of self-doubt, divine intervention can bring clarity to confusion. It's a reminder that through faith in God, you can overcome the internal enemies that threaten your peace and happiness. The idea that God will confuse your enemies promotes a spirit of forgiveness and understanding. It encourages you to respond to negativity with grace and kindness, leaving the confusion to a higher power. Rather than seeking revenge or harboring resentment, this belief guides you towards a path of compassion, empathy, and love. In times of hardship, knowing that God will confuse your enemies becomes a source of strength for you. It doesn't promise a life without challenges, but it offers the confidence that you are not alone in facing them. It's like having a divine ally, someone who understands your struggles and is actively working on your behalf. As you navigate the challenges of life, hold on to the faith that God will confuse your enemies. Let this belief be the melody that plays in your heart during moments of joy and sorrow. It's a simple yet profound truth that can transform your perspective, turning challenges into opportunities for growth and difficulties into stepping stones towards a brighter future. So embrace this inspiring notion with an open heart, knowing that God is conspiring for your well-being. Let the belief that God will confuse your enemies be the foundation upon which you build a life filled with courage, compassion, and unwavering faith. God has the power to influence circumstances, transform hearts, and ultimately work for the good of those who trust in Him. God's presence is a source of strength, turning enemies into allies and bringing about a resolution to conflicts. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.